Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Trev back again here, bringing another video. So this time we'll be talking about a topic that is totally like right out of left field, or I guess upper field. Something completely different from what I normally do, just refreshing, something different. Let's do a video talking about aliens and alien abduction. This is an interesting topic. It's something that has been widely discussed on the internet. Tons of videos out there talking about how they're real and this and the other thing. I thought, wouldn't it be different if I do a video talking about the subject and break it down from an actual scientific perspective. Not too in detail, because I don't want to bore you. This isn't a science class, but just talking about the likelihood of the situation and maybe, just speaking from a rational standpoint and taking a look at the issue and saying, what is this phenomenon that's happening? Are there really aliens that are abducting people, and have there been since, the 1960s? And, is this something that is real, or is this kind of bogus? So let's get right down into it. So, me personally, I've been interested in this kind of stuff for a long time. When I was younger, of course, I would watch a lot of videos online and, hear a lot of stuff out there and, listen to some radio shows like Coast to Coast and stuff like that are very interesting. A lot of people, really like those, and I'm one of them. I think it's kind of funny. You get a lot of the crazies who call in who are just mentally ill, just crazy people. But then you get a few people here who are, pretty intelligent and, actually have some good claims. So is there anything to their claims? So what I did was over the years I've researched a lot, I've kind of looked into it a lot, and, just kind of see, what's the likelihood here? Is it more probable that this is actually happening, this abduction phenomenon? Are people really being abducted by aliens, experimented on, and all this crazy stuff? And how long has this been happening for? So essentially, to start us up, let's start out from the beginning. So the first widely reported abduction case was in 1961. Okay, by Betty and Barney Hill. All right, and essentially, I'm not going to get too into detail, but the story is that they were going on a road trip, I think up in Canada. They were coming back, and their car seized, and they said after that point they basically, supposedly were abducted, experimented on, all this kind of stuff, crazy stuff, and after that they, it was pretty widely reported, and a lot of people, it got a lot of press, and it's still thought of today in 2011 as being the first official reported, widely known case of this happening. So I kind of looked up the dates of of that and of some other things that were going on at that time, and it just so happens that about 10 years before that, in the early 1950s and throughout the 1950s, there was a huge spring of alien invasion movies in Hollywood, and even before that they had some radio shows. I'll list off a few for you here and tell you what I'm getting at. Essentially, in 1938 they had the War of the Worlds, okay, which was a long time before this, Then in 1950s we had like this big boom during the Cold War of all kinds of alien films with alien invasion, all this kind of stuff going on, war, and all these kinds of different sci-fi action films. They really boomed and became very popular. In the 1950s we had The Thing from Another World, that was 1951. The Day the Earth Stood Still, 1951. A lot of these have been remade by today as well, if you're not aware of that. War of the Worlds, I believe, was made into a movie in 1953, and just countless others. So that's about 3 or 4 to name for you right off the bat. Also, sort of the size of the ships and this kind of stuff. The flying saucer was also showed in these movies. And there wasn't a lot of reported stuff like this before that. Now, people could argue, oh, maybe it's because people were ashamed, they didn't know who to tell, and yada, yada, yada. I don't buy that, okay? if something like that was really happening to a lot of people, there would have been some info about it. It would have been documented. Something would have been, somebody, would have reported it before 1961. So as you can see here, what I'm getting at is, 10 years prior to 1961, before, these people said that this happened to them, we got a spring of all these movies, essentially. So the movies brought into consciousness, this whole concept of alien invasion and this kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden, 10 years later, you have people, starting to claim that this was happening to them. That got widespread, and after that, it just went on from there. Other people started saying it was happening to them, started reporting this. And, during the 90s, there was, a lot of specials on Fox and stuff like this, a lot of info on the Roswell incidents and all this kind of stuff. And the fact of the matter comes down to it. This is the way I see it, okay? When you have a situation like this, where you have movies that come out before people are reporting this, if it was the other way around, if there was actual well-documented, widespread information like this from the 1800s or the early 1900s, way before all these movies came out and all this literature and sci-fi fiction came out, then I would say, yeah, there's something interesting here. This has been happening for a long time. But the fact that these movies came out, 10 years before, and there was a huge boom of these movies before people started saying that, this was happening to them and this kind of stuff, leads you to believe that this is just this is basically something that's happening to the mind of these people, and this is not actually physically happening to these people in the real world. And the reason why I wanted to make this video is because it seems like on the internet, all there is a huge number of videos of people talking about how they are real and this and the other thing, and don't believe what others tell you. I just wanted to kind of clear the air and get it out there and say, hey, listen, guys, and I've never heard anybody else say this either. I kind of did this through my own research to figure out that, well, the movies were released before these people started saying this was happening to them. So that would lead you to believe that it's just their imagination. Okay, so, that's my first point. The second point I want to move on to is basically that there is a phenomenon that people experience as a result of brain activity during sleep. And what this happens is basically at is it a high level or a low level? Basically, when people are engaging in rapid eye movement sleep, which basically what that means is there's different levels of sleep that you go through. And, they call it that because your eyes may move during sleep. If you're dreaming, if your mind is doing some things, your brain is active and there's activity in there, there's blood flow in there, they will, basically that's what they call it, rapid eye movement sleep. And if you are awoken suddenly or you kind of wake up all of a sudden, sometimes, very rarely, especially if you eat before bed, this can happen a lot. Your mind will essentially, your mind will be awake, your eyes may open, okay, your body hasn't really connected up yet. So what happens is you end up, you could be lying in bed, okay, and you could be paralyzed. And this happens. This is well documented. This is known. A lot of people know about this. It's called sleep paralysis, okay? And sleep paralysis happens. Your mind basically, your brain wakes up, your mind wakes up, but your brain does not have control of your body yet. And you can still have some things happen around you. So you can see your room, you can see wherever it is you're sleeping. However, you're still kind of dreaming at the same time. So you may have some things that come in from the dream, okay, into your vision and what you're seeing, and you can't move. So that's a terrifying feeling, and it happens to everybody. It's totally normal. It's just an error of the brain, just like computers make errors. You're listening to this or watching this on a computer right now. Computers make errors. The human brain makes errors, okay? This is what happens when the human mind is woken at a weird time. You are half awake, so to speak, but you can't move, okay? Your imagination and your brain and your dreams are kind of coming in. You kind of have one half of you're dreaming, the other half you are awake, but you can't move. That's a scary feeling for some people, and sometimes people report, this is a common thing that people report, is they report seeing figures, okay, in this state, shadow figures. A lot of times, they could, and this goes back to either ghosts or to to aliens and this kind of stuff when they're waking up, and it's because they're half dreaming still. And this is just a common error that happens in the mind, similar to a video game. If you're playing a video game, you see some errors where the game will glitch. Well, even if you play 20 different games, different computers, the glitches are often the same. The glitches look the same. The pixelation, you could have an error in one game on this computer, and you go to another computer, and it shows kind of the same thing. That's the same thing with the figures, too, is that, people report seeing the same things. This is a condition of the mind. This is something that's happening to your brain as you're sleeping, as you're waking up into sleep paralysis. This has been documented for a long time. People used to believe witches were sitting on their stomach and holding them down. They actually believed this. This is documented. You can look this up, sleep paralysis. And once again, this too leads into the abduction phenomena. There's been studies done by psychologists from major universities who are much more educated than I am in psychology. I'm a comp sci major, but not a psychology major. And basically, they found that, just like I'm saying right now, sleep paralysis was to blame for a lot of these reported cases. Okay, add to that the imagination factor from these movies. Okay, and you have yourself a phenomenon of people with the brain, sleep paralysis combined with the imagination through Hollywood. My friends, you have nothing interesting going on here, unfortunately. You just have an error of the brain, an error of the mind, and nothing really going on. So as far as aliens and abducting people, I say, it's not happening. It never has happened, as far as I can say. These people may believe it happened to them, but probably what they experienced was sleep paralysis. And the other thing I have to add to that is that there's basically never any proof. I've seen some documentaries on TV shows where they say, oh, you know, such and such found an implant under this guy's. Okay, well, if that's fantastic. If they found an implant there, that's revolutionary. Everybody in the world should know about that. Okay, study it, find out what it's made out of, and if there's something interesting here, then you have proof. But guess what? You watch the documentary's over, and where do you hear about this? Nowhere. These people are just trying to get ratings on their TV programs. That's basically it. So, as far as I see it, you know, as a result of those 2 points, the imagination, you know, sleep paralysis, the movies, silly as it sounds, these things all have an effect on us and our imagination. In conclusion, I have to say there's nothing interesting going on here. Sorry guys, but as far as I see, I don't see any cases here to be, to be convincing to me whatsoever. So I would conclude that, if we indeed are being visited by another race, which I don't believe we are at all, because space is a big frickin' place. If you guys don't know, the next closest star system to us is 4.2 billion light years away, and it doesn't even have any planets in it. Okay, that's a long way. And think of how smart we are. We have no technology that even comes close to being able to traverse space in a practical, timely manner. So how would another race be able to do it? They, the odds are very low, my friends, very low. So anyway, that's another topic for another video. I rest my case. Please, if you're interested, you want to talk about this, leave me some comments. Granted, it's not within the next year or so. After that, I probably won't answer. But let me know what you guys think about the topic and sleep paralysis and the coincidence of the movies coming out 10 years before the first reported case. I'll see you guys later.